All right, we should be recording. Hi, everybody. I am welcoming Ray and Cara Gomez, a fabulous young couple who I met back in LA in November. And I'm really excited for you to hear what they have to say today about marriage, having their own businesses, investing in themselves. Ray has been through divorce before, and that's what I talk about. I'm Lisa McCallum. I'm an author and a speaker and a divorce coach. But I don't just talk about divorce. And the reason why we do talk about divorce is someone's had to have been married before or in some kind of a committed relationship. But there are some very important things about doing your best, trying your hardest, obviously, to keep your marriage going. A lot of us do that. We do everything that we possibly can. And eventually, maybe there's just something that we just can't do anymore. And life does put us in that new direction of moving on, which Ray has done with Cara, and they will be talking about that as well. I'm not an attorney and I'm not a psychologist, but I can help you ascertain whether or not you should be staying in your marriage or it's time to move on. And if you do choose to move on, I can definitely help you with that and move into the life that you're deserving of and that you need. And that's another big question that I'm going to get into with these two today is knowing your needs and being able to ask for them. But I'd like to introduce you right now to Cara and Ray and let them tell you who they are, what they're about, and what they're up to.
I'll let you go first, Cara. Cara, go first.
Okay. So hello, everyone. My name is Cara Gomez. I am a marketer and branding expert. My husband and I one of our brands is Virtual Sales Growth, where we help people increase their sales closing ratio online. And I'm the marketing arm of that. I handle all of the online marketing for our company.
And my name is Ray. I've been in sales for 12 years, working as an entrepreneur, working in the corporate world. And what I do is I help individuals or businesses improve their closing ratio. And also recently, I've been promoted with Cutco Cutlery to work closely with businesses and realtors with branding purposes, having their names, engraved on our Cutco kitchen knives in their kitchen, so no one has to worry about, where's that business card that I lost to, or who I need to get in touch with my agent. So now it's a one-stop shop. So a lot of that, I also coach hundreds of college students, Skills for Life, as a sales coach as well. My goal is to make sure that our students, graduate school not just on the education part, but also with skills that they're going to use, which is sales skills. So that's what we do. We help companies grow their sales team.
Yeah, I know. I've spoken to both of you on different levels, from personal levels and some business levels as well. You guys have helped me out with my social media. Oh my God. Like everyone that's probably listening in on this, we all have our struggles with social media, and it sure is great to be able to have people that can help you out with it instead of doing it all by yourself and going through all those struggles and wanting to throw out everything that you have. It's nice to be able to do that. Thanks, you guys have helped me out so much with it. And because of that, we are able to record this the way this is today, and this is our world. We are, look at the name of your business, Virtual Sales Growth. Of course, we embrace being together with people, but this is a great form of communication as well to use personally and in business. So I want to get right to the punch, because the reason why I asked this couple on today is because they have a beautiful synergy about them. I saw that in them back in LA at the Mega Success event that JT Fox hosts each and every year, the Super Bowl of business and branding. And I saw this like I said, synergy between the two of them. Not only are they a married couple, but they're a couple in business together. And then I found out more as I got to know them and ask questions on a personal level. And Ray said that he had been divorced before, which, how would I know that? And I'm glad that you divulged this, because I know that you have learned lots of things from that. And I'd like to ask you first, just about your divorce, whatever you feel free that you wanna say, and then specifically just what you've learned about that as a man and what that's done for yourself to be a better man.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we all have our stories, and it's a growth period. And, one of the first things before I began my relationship with Cara was being honest with her, saying that I'm just coming out from a divorce. I'm not sure if I'm ready to really pursue a relationship. But going into my previous marriage, there was a lot of, negative signs going into it. And I'm the kind of guy that I don't give up easily, not knowing when to stop, when to say no. I'm always the yes, yes, yes kind of guy. But I met my ex-wife with after 8 years of being with Cutco Cutlery. I've achieved. I was on top of the mountain. I've earned a BMW car. And, at that point, my ex-wife also had a daughter. She was about 1 year old. And, it was a challenge from a guy coming in into someone who has a daughter and wanting to do more. But the situation was we were in a city in Kentucky. It's only 10% of the students graduate. Majority of them goes out with drugs or prostitution. And my ex-wife's mom was drugs, prostitution, all that involved. And I didn't want to see her daughter necessarily grow up in that life. So I made a commitment. We started dating, fell in love with the daughter as well, and we moved to Tennessee just to kind of get that out of the environment. And throughout, part of the reason why I was an entrepreneur, I was a young entrepreneur. I didn't know what I was doing. I was making a lot of mistakes. I wasn't making money as much as I wanted to. So my ex-wife gave me an ultimatum. He said, hey, if you want to be with us, you got to quit your dream, right? Even though I was just starting to do well, but I always wanted to be a dad. I knew what it's like not to have a dad in my life, because my parents split when I was 3 years old, and I had to be role model. So no childhood, was work, 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 take care of my brother, that kind of thing. But I wanted to be there for my daughter because I wanted to be there for an event. So thankfully, with my sales skills, I got a pretty decent job. But it took a lot out of me. I was working 7 days a week, nonstop, maybe having 2 or 3 hours with my daughter. But among all of that, I still managed to put her in one of the best schools. Homework. I mean, at 3 years old, my daughter was literally like washing dishes because she wanted to. She wanted to help out. So, but along the process, I figured out that it wasn't enough for my ex, and I figured out that she was cheating on me. And I forgave her the first few times, and then come to find out one day that she said I was pregnant, and oh my gosh, I always wanted to be a dad, always wanted to be a family, and I was excited, and come to find out that twice in a row was a miscarriage. Later on, I found out that she had an abortion without my notice, and also to figure out that it wasn't even mine. So
Wow.
after the divorce. So, I had that moment where I was crying in the hospital. I mean, as a man, as a dad, I felt like my dignity as a man was taken away, that I wasn't able to help a child. Like, even if my marriage wasn't going to work out, I would still would have a job, make it my own, raise a kid by myself, do whatever it takes to do it. But I don't believe in abortion. And I understand there's certain, scenario why people would get it because of health and stuff like that. But I was in a process where I could raise the kid. It was then, I guess, my depression started to getting worse because I felt hopeless. I felt like my manhood was taken away. And then eventually, we stayed in the marriage for about 2, 3 years. And then on my daughter's 5th birthday, I took her to Kentucky. We had a great weekend. On the way back, and my ex-wife just told me that, hey, it's over. I love you, but there's nothing. So I gave her the house so that they don't have to be homeless, and only to find out that the guy that she was just really just moved in. So I lost my dream job. I lost everything. I started drinking. I started hanging out with the wrong people. And then it just occurred to me one day that this is not a lifestyle I want. Like, I want to be a better person for the next, woman to come in my life. And
Yeah.
I was not innocent, I would say. I was kind of way I was controlling. But I was controlling more like a protection. I guess when you get hurt that you're being cheated on over and over again, it's like you want to hold on. And I started to become very angry, to a point that I would scare people with my anger, and I didn't know how to control that. And I could see why that would be scary, right? So for a whole year before I met Cara, I decided to go for a life change. I decided to learn about myself more, who I am. So I started doing the practice all over again, looking in the mirror. Are you happy with yourself? If you can be happy with yourself, how are you going to take care of someone else, right? And growing up, my parents always said, as a man, as the oldest in the family, you need to bring a paycheck. I don't care what job you need to do, otherwise you're not going to have a woman in your life. But then I was like, I'm making over 100,000 a year and I'm still miserable. So it's not about the money. It's more about yourself. What I've learned is about loving yourself first. And I've always wanted to please someone else. That was my biggest weakness. And rather than helping them, it ended up hurting me in the same time. So I'm much stricter now myself to take care of myself first, even though Cara can admit it's hard for me to just sit in the bed or to relax when I'm sick. Like, she's always saying, hey, relax, go, I got this. Like, but it's so hard for me because I'm gonna go, 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 go. But the one thing that I've made a promise before Cara is, I told Cara, I said, hey, I have a stepdaughter. And part of the reason why I'm not seeing my stepdaughter is because our bonding was so tight, that my daughter wanted to stay with me and not her mom. But legally, I could not have custody of it. And I didn't want my daughter to be asking the question of, why do I have so many dads in my life? Like, I didn't want to, in my mind, I didn't want to put more pressure on her. So on her 5th birthday, I gave her a kiss and I said, you know what? I may not see you, but I'm going to work my butt off to make sure that you have a role model. And this is my why. This is why I help people grow life. And most of my daughter can still see me from the far end. And if there's one thing I could do for her is being that good role model, the good role model as a dad, as a guy, that, hey, there's still good guys out there that's willing to treat women right. I'm still growing myself. Cara can admit to that. Our marriage is not perfect. We argue, we yell. Like, sometimes I get into that yell, like, so scary, and I'm just like, we need help. We need coaches. Like, we need some coaches to help us out. Like, it is ridiculous, right? But the one thing that I've learned from that is able to admit that you are wrong, and continue improving to not repeat the same mistake. So I'm sure we got more questions, but I'll let Cara talk her in on that.
So Cara, let's go further with that. When you met Ray, tell us, what did you see in him? Did you see a guy who was definitely making a change in his life to be a better man? And did he bring that to you?
So I guess that question's probably best answered by, I guess, recounting a little bit about, how we met and how we started dating and whatnot. I think the short answer is that when I met him, I saw someone who had like the same values as me. And that was something that I was looking for in a partner because, at the time I was with someone else, And, you know, he and I had very different values. And I think for, you know, his reasons, I know my reasons were that, you know, I was loyal. We had been together for 6 years. And, you know, I was like committed to that relationship, but I just started feeling not the same commitment to our relationship from him.
Okay.
And so when I met Ray as a friend, we were ballroom dance partners, you know, so strictly just professional. A lot of people, you know, meet up to do that sport together. And, you know, I started talking to him and I said, you know, like we were very open and honest with each other about like, hey, you know, what do you like? And, you know, I just saw that he wanted things in his life that were similar to what I wanted. And that was when I kind of had, you know, an honest reflection with myself. And I said, look, you know, this person that you're with doesn't like certain things about your lifestyle and what you want. And they're not ever going to be a part of those things in your life because that's not what they want. And, you know, there's certain things about you that, like me, Cara, that I know that person didn't like either. And I said, you know what? It's time to be honest with yourself that what you have is not for you. And so I had a very honest conversation with him. And it turns out that after kind of some of the initial like shock of, oh my goodness, a 6-year relationship is ending, he actually came back to me and said, you know what, honestly, I was feeling the same way, but I didn't know how to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
So looking back on it now, I say, you know, yeah, it was painful, but think about how much happier that other person is now that they're able to live their life the way they want to, especially when there were such like points of conflict. And, you know, I think that is an example of how you got to have the right balance between loyalty and commitment, and also between honesty between partners, you know, because I'm the kind of person I committed to that. So I was going to stick with it. You know, I was like, you know, hey, when are we going to get married? Like that kind of thing. And, you know, it should have been a indication to me that whenever we started talking about that, you know, there was never the same enthusiasm from him about that concept. And, you know, I think my own fear of this person that I had like shared so much with doesn't feel the same way was what was kind of keeping me in the place where I was, you know, because I've just in my nature, I've always been the kind of person who, you know, wants to be in a committed relationship, wants to, you know, wants certain things from the person that they're with. And so when I met Ray and we had that very open and honest conversation with each other, you know, I said, wow, this person.
We gotta tell the story. It was a love at first touch. Come on, we gotta share this story. Come on. We have to share this story. It wasn't.
I'm dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell the story. Come on now.
Me tell the story?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I can tell the story because there's a little detail in it that's kind of silly that you might appreciate. So basically, we were introduced by a mutual friend who said, "Hey, I think you guys would be great ballroom practice partners for each other." And so we said, "Okay, sure." So we, you know, chatted online, and then we said, "Let's meet in person and actually dance together." Well, I had been sick, and it's just my own personal habit is that when I have been sick and I go somewhere, I wear a face mask. So this was 2018, and I had already
You're way ahead of time.
Yeah, I had already become a mask subscriber. And so I showed up to the ballroom studio with my practice gear and a mask on. So, and we all know how we look with a mask on nowadays. And so when we met, that's how he met me, is with a mask. But, in ballroom, after we introduced ourselves and chatted for a few minutes, we said, okay, let's, we're here to dance. Let's dance. And so the sequence in ballroom is that the leader, who Ray was the leader, puts out their hand to initiate the dancing. And so I'm not, in my nature, I'm not a big believer in like, oh, love at first sight, okay, like I'll respect that. I never thought that kind of thing would happen to me. But, there was definitely a connection when we started dancing together, from, the first dance and our first conversations. And it just felt very genuine. And so that's a great, so when he started talking to me about some of the things that he just mentioned in this conversation about his divorce and his, his stepdaughter and stuff, I said, you know what, like, he's being very honest about it. And do I understand how to handle that? Like, because I always knew there was a possibility somehow that like all of us would meet somehow. It's a possibility that exists in the universe, and I said, do I know how to handle that? No, but I'll just figure it out, like if and or when it happens. And I said, so you know what, that's okay. Like, I don't completely understand how you feel about this, like having a kid, because I've never been a parent before, but because I respect you, like I respect those feelings, and I'll listen and do what I can to be accepting of that. And that's just how we've been. No, I've never met his ex-wife or the little girl, but that's just how it is. Like, nothing is perfect like that. But what really impressed me from our first meetings together, and when we were talking honestly about these, like, personal goals and stuff, was how committed he was to self-improvement. I think that's one of the big things that I saw in him that was very attractive to me, was how committed he was to self-improvement, because none of the people that I had been in relationships before had been that straightforward about their self-improvement and their goals. And that certainly wasn't something that my own dad had been a big role model of. It was always something that I said, when I find someone that I want to be with, that's something that I want them to have, because my own dad does not display that characteristic, and it was not something that I wanted to have in my life.
Right. So yes, and it is very attractive. It's compelling. It drew you something, that drew you into him.
One thing I want to add on that too, and I think I can speak a lot for the guys out there who are scared when you're divorced and you feel like taken out. The best thing you could do when you feel you find the right person is plainly be honest with them. It's the hardest thing to do as a guy, right? Because most guys want to get the lady, and then they're afraid about their past relationship, or they may have a kid that's going to ruin the opportunity with the one that they found now. But the reality is, if you be honest with them and they can accept you for who you are and accept that honesty, yes, then you're meant to be together. If they cannot accept that, as painful as it is, at least you could say you were honest to yourself. You were honest to your own discipline, your core, right? And then eventually, the right person will come. In the whole year that I was single, like, I've met a lot of women, but I chose not to get into any kind of relationship because I knew I wasn't ready yet. I knew I wasn't like I didn't want to be that guy that want to rebound immediately. I wanted to make sure that I get back to my fundamentals to get back up. And it was a huge risk with Kara. Like, I was broke. I was just coming out from eviction. I barely could pay my electric. I would have maybe $10, $20 at best after all spending. So I didn't know if I could even take care of Kara. Like I didn't know if I could give that future to Kara, but it was a risk because she would, she gave me an opportunity. She gave me a chance, and that's how it went. And I would say that honesty from the beginning is why we got together.
But do you find too, because this is a common thread I'm finding in different people that I'm interviewing,
Mm-hmm.
is and it goes both ways, but it's that really being ready to open up, because we don't want to do that with everyone or anyone, but then the relationship must have that vulnerability, and like you talked about, that truth and that honesty. I mean, you didn't hide anything, you said everything, but you, like I said, you probably weren't willing to say that or do that with anyone.
Yeah.
But you find that point.
Yeah. For me, in any relationship, that I'm just like Kara. When I commit the whole way, right?
Yeah.
There's no backing out. And I guess being with a lot of previous relationship where I was open, but still being betrayed by it, like it came to a point to like, going back to what I was saying, right? Be honest with yourself, right? Not everyone's going to accept you. It's like life. You're going to hear the word no over and over and over again, but that does not mean you stop, right?
No.
Continue to grow, continue to be out there, and eventually the one person that comes, that's the one for you. So that's the one lesson that I've learned is, yeah, you made a lot of mistakes. Yes, you've been betrayed a lot, but keep going, keep improving, keep being loyal, keep being honest to yourself, and eventually that one person will come. No, you're not just, I mean, especially when you are heartbroken and you find that someone who's going to listen to you and you want to just, like I think part of relationship sometimes is the reason why people like don't make it is because they forget to listen to their partner. And that's one thing that, I was challenging for Kara and I, right? I'm always the, go, 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 go kind of thing. And Kara is more like, hey, let's analyze this, let's do this, right? So, I mean, yeah, that's part of growth. I think listening skills is the biggest thing, is being able to listen to your partner and also making an effort to try to work that out, right? Anything you want to add on, Kara?
Oh yeah, you can kind of tell a bit about our relationship dynamic just from this interview too. It's kind of unique. A lot of, and I always roll my eyes when people talk about, oh, the woman's the talker and everything like that, and I'm like, have you met my husband? I love him to death, but you're talking to him right now, kind of thing. But you know what? Like and Ray, you can say this too. When I have something that I want to talk about, I talk about it. Just the other day, it may be different because just the other day, remember in the car we were talking about why are there so many French words still in English? And I told you all my thoughts about that. And then I looked it up about the history and I told you what I found. So, it's sometimes it's kind of a different conversation with me because of, my nature, like how I am. And that was one of the things that I had to adjust to too, is like, I was 100% not used to a very right brain man. A man who talks a lot, who is very open about his emotions, who feels his emotions like big, like you can look at him, you can listen to him, and you can hear how big he feels his emotions. And that's something that we've grown as a couple, is learning, me learning how to like fit into that kind of thing. Because as much as I can be a reserved person, I feel everything too. It's just I keep it in here. It's inside, because that's how I am. And if it's something that I want to share, I share it. But it with him, it just is, and that's just naturally how he is. And I grew to understand that. I said, that's how he is. And so I've made little, adjustments here and there where, like, even if I just say, okay, I hear you, honey. Like, I try to acknowledge the verbal feedback more, because I realized for him that just being there in the room and listening to it is not enough. He wants to know verbally, be assured that you've heard him. Like, yes, I've heard you. Yes, honey. Even if it's just something. So that's something that, I've said, okay, I can be more conscientious about that. I can be more, make that more of a habit that I do. So yeah, that's something that's what I think it takes in a relationship, is it takes being compatible with your core values, but also willing to do what it takes to become a unit together, to make small changes, like picking up your stuff more, or verbally affirming your partner, or being more punctual, whatever those little things are. Because think about it, like, how much do you want to be with someone? If you really want to be in a partnership unit with someone, what matters more, changing your habits or being in that unit with them? And you have to make a decision, because life is full of choices that you've got to make. And so sometimes you got to say, okay, I'm not a very tidy person, but I care about my partner and that matters to them. And so, how can I be more tidy? What's the number one thing that bothers you that I can work on? Yeah. Because that shows that you care.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's being able to, you got to be able to bring this stuff to the table.
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky, isn't it? And confrontation is tricky, and wondering what the other one's going to think and how they're going to feel. And often we can just say, let it go. And then a lot of resentment starts building up inside yourself as well. And then all of a sudden something's going to blow.
Yep.
Absolutely. So that, not talking, but okay. I want to ask you guys too, because you have your business together, and either one of you or both of you can talk too, but how important is it that, I'd like both of you to answer this question. How important is it for you to invest in yourself? I mean, you are investing together, but that investing in yourself so that you can take care of yourself financially.
Yeah. You want to go first?
Sure. So I would say, when we have problems in our relationship, often a common theme is because we're not being intentional about remembering our relationship versus letting other things take a priority. So I guess what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, no matter what's stressing you, and I'm not saying this is easy, because by far it is not easy, but you gotta remember who that other person is and why you're there with them. So there's, like business Ray and Cara, that we run a business together, and then there's us personally as a couple. And even if we're upset about something that one of us did over here on the business side, you have to compartmentalize that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a skill to practice. It doesn't come naturally, but it's a skill to practice to say, you know, sometimes I've even done a visualization in my head where I say, okay, I'm upset about something. I'm letting those emotions out. And then when I physically cross this boundary, like I step out of this doorway or I step out of the shower, when you cross that physical boundary, it's done. You're not going to be angry anymore. You're not going to be upset anymore or something like that. You've had your time. Take whatever time you need to be upset or whatever, feel those feelings. But once you cross this physical boundary, it's done, because you got to move forward into something else. You've got to move over here into this personal space because it's the end of the day. And, you know, we have a rule in our relationship that we try not to go to bed angry at each other.
Nice.
Whatever it is, we try, even if it's not completely resolved, we try to talk a little bit about it before we go to bed, so that we keep that like sanctity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from me, where I'm coming from, I guess having to struggle since I was a little kid, having to, you know, nothing was ever handed to me. I had to fight for everything. You know, there were days where, you know, when I was 18 years old, my mom gave me an ultimatum where you either, you know, quit this sales job and go find a job at a gas station to stay at home, or if you take this sales job, then you have to leave the house. And I had to learn. And for months, I was homeless. I was, you know, maybe sleeping at a friend's house, or I remember in the winter sleeping in my car, and, you know, fingers are getting purple. But, you know, I wanted to create a space to where if anything were to happen to me, Kara is going to be able to take care of herself. You know, she don't need to rely on me. Like if I get sick, you know, because my health, a lot of people don't know. I have an immune system, some lungs problem, and I get sick very easily. A lot of people doesn't know that, but I want to make sure that Kara is, you know, able to hold up. And I was approaching, I would say that the wrong way. I was telling her what to do. This is what you need, versus really saying, hey, Kara, what is your strength? What's your weakness? Tell me, how can I help? How can we communicate? And eventually now is, you know, what we do is to solve our issues is we reach out to our own coaches, our own mentors, and say, hey, this is what's going on, right? I'm pissed off right now. I yelled at her. I said words that I shouldn't say. And then our coaches, our mentor give us the feedback. And then what we do is we come back and we implement what we need to. We apologize and we continue to, you know, improve ourselves. It's not perfect. And one thing that I need, you know, all of you are listening here as a married couple, like you can coach your spouse. You cannot coach your family. And that's something, it's a struggle because you live by them and you want to see them successful. But it's like, you know, parents, right? You could tell your kids, don't do drugs 10 million times. They're not going to listen to you. But if they listen to someone like a coach do that, they're more likely going to listen to you. And it's the same thing as marriage. It's the same sacrifice you got to make. And, you know, I was showing Kara this is to call the 5 minutes rule and say, hey, I need 5 minutes. Don't bother me. Don't talk to me. Don't call me. I need to calm down. I need to let it out, right? And we do that. We take the 5 minutes rule. We either call our coaches or we yell at ourselves, right? And get it out. And then after that, it's time. Okay, how can we fix this? How can we move forward? What can? And I think that since we got our coaches involved, not just in our business but in our personal life as well, we have been seeing tremendous amount of growth like each day, right? I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm scared. I'm scared of losing Kara, right? I'm scared because it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And
Yeah.
you know, for those of you who knows me, 2018, like I went to a major depression because it was my daughter's first year graduation, and part of the agreement with my ex was that I'm not gonna involve. Just tell me when the graduation. I will show up from the back just to make sure that I see my daughter graduate because I was the one that put her to school. I was the one that worked the extra hours, and come to find out that didn't happen. Um, Everything didn't matter to me anymore. Like I was lost. I was like So I took a bunch of pills and went through the process. Many of you know my story, but part of the reason I came back is because of Cara. You know, during that whole, I guess, you know, going through the whole suicidal thing, Cara was the reason I came back. It was God saying that, hey, I'm sending someone to you, listen to her, right? And you're gonna be fine. And you know, we were only dating 4 months, right? And Cara, the next thing you know, Cara was there right by me. She said, "Come home. We're gonna go through this together." And I didn't believe it at first. And she stuck. And it was then I said, you know what? I'm gonna marry this girl, and we're gonna live together, right? Even though I give her a hard time, I'm like, oh, you're gonna leave me for some sexy guy, like we'll joke around, just to get her reaction, right? And she drive her nuts, right? But I mean, I love her. I love her, you know. And I told her, I said, remember what I said when we first met? Now that you know my story, you cannot let me go. We are stuck for life. And I always tell her, like, you know, when it's time for us to go to heaven, we'll be in the same coffin, we'll be holding hands, and we'll leave this earth together, right? We're gonna achieve this together. But yeah, I'm a handful. You know, I'm a very shy person. I don't come out easily, but once you get to know me, you know, I'm a big kid. I love to have fun because, you know, that's one thing, you got to learn how to have fun in life. And I'm glad that I get to do the business with Cara, to watch it grow, and to be able to now clock in and out on work and in life. And it's kind of I know what she wants now, and she hates it sometimes. But like, where are we going, honey? Shut up, we're going. Like, just shut up, we're going. I'm taking you to your favorite place. I'm doing something that you like, right? And it's all that listening skills that you listen to your spouse and what they want, what they don't want, and being there for them. Every day is new, you know. And I can say in my marriage now, even though with all the betrayal, like I'm afraid to let, you know, my ex go out because it might be another man. Yes, I still have that fear with Cara, but now I'm like, please get out of the house. Go do something fun. Like,
Yeah.
stop being around me. Go hang out with a friend. Go call your friend, Zoom call. Like, go talk to your mom, right? That was not me at all. But Cara has built that trust in me to where it's nice to know that my wife can enjoy time outside of the relationship.
Exactly.
And then it's so funny that even when I call my buddies or hang out with some of my friends, that I can't wait to come home to be with my wife. Not to check to see if she's like cheating on me, but more like, hey, I had time with my friends, that's great, but I want to be with my wife, right?
Yeah.
And we have the cut off. Like, I think what we say, 8 o'clock now is our cut off work time, where we just be husband and wife. We plan the week. So those are areas of improvements that we're doing. But yeah, marriage is not easy.
So you encourage each other to do your own thing as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And then at that same time, you're comfortable enough in yourself to let them go and then enjoy the thing that you're doing as well. But then you come back together again. And don't you feel more fulfilled at that point? And then you can share those things together that you just did.
Yep.
Get something to talk about, something to bring to the table and bring to the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have covered everything that I wanted to cover today with you guys. And you have brought more to this as well. And I hope, my intention is that for people watching this in your marriage, whether you've been through divorce, it doesn't really matter. All of these people can learn something that's going to be so beneficial for them. And some of the key takeaways I would say is that you said to really listen to one another as well and get the help that you need in order to grow. Don't be afraid to reach out and get the right help. And then that gets you more comfortable with yourself, the confidence in yourself, and then you can bring that into your relationship and talk. Lots of talking. So it's been wonderful having both of you. I just can't say enough. I just want to say thank you so much for coming here and being vulnerable and opening up. And it's the whole point is to help other people and make this a better world.
Yeah, this is my personal opinion, but I think that nobody is born knowing how to get along with other people. Especially in like a modern context, because, just kind of imagine, if you will, what it was like for our ancestors, farming in a little hut on the grasslands or whatever, like that was survival. That was, if you made it through the day and you lived and you ate and you were lucky enough to have a baby, like that was success. And so, these days, 2020 modern life is very much different. We, for the most part, we're very blessed because we don't have to worry about if there's food in our fridge, and, we get to make all these decisions about when and how many children to have. So, we're not born understanding how to be in a relationship from a modern context. So everybody has to work on being a good partner in all those little nuances that we mentioned, because we're not born knowing how to do that. And I think that's the number one mistake that people make for their relationships, is they say, hey, I'm a great person. I don't know why anybody would not want to be with me, because we have a lot of, self-esteem, or the opposite. They say, I'm a terrible person. I have no idea why anyone would want to be with me. And either way, it's flawed. And so either way, you're going to have to do work.
Yes, you do. Well, if anybody here wants to get a hold of Cara and Ray Gomes, there you've got it right there. Virtual sales growth. They are a hot couple making it happen in this world. I have seen so much of their material. They're everywhere. They're Facebook, they're Instagram, they're on Millionaire Flex. They are all over the place, and they're helping people out there. And if you want to get a hold of me at lisatalksdivorce.com, I'm just here to listen. We can take it from there. So thanks, you guys. Have a great day.
You're very welcome.
I want to say one more last thing that's very important.
Sure.
Don't divorce. I used to not want to hear the word divorce because of commitment, right? But being in a relationship where it's going nowhere because there's no partnership anymore, it's better to get out now than hurting yourself more. But when you get out from the divorce, the one thing that you want to do is surround yourself with good people and who can help you love yourself first. That is the biggest thing that I've done to commit, is learning how to love yourself first. We all need partners in life. No one wants to be lonely.
No.
But being with a partner just for the sake to be with someone because you don't want to be alone, that's not the right way. It will cause you more hurt. So love yourself. Ask yourself every day, who am I? What are my strengths? And keep loyal to yourself first. And when you do that, the right people will come to your life.
That's right. Oh, thanks so much. People are going to just love this. Yeah, you've helped them so much. All right, guys. See you soon. Right. Talk soon.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay. Thank you. I just have to figure out how to hang on here. There we go.